Alright guys, so for the front strut install, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. All you do is you take out 3 of those bolts right there. They will be out right there. 1, 2, 3. Unclip those little caps, wires, they just come right off. No need to remove this, just bend it back like that. On this, spring compressors. Compress the spring as much as you can. You can use an impact gun to make it quicker for you. Then you're going to clamp that top part, and then this is a 17 millimeter. These are 15 millimeter. So use a 17 mil to loosen that. Make sure you get all the pressure off of the spring so it doesn't fly out on you. And then make sure when you put that new one in here, everything has to go just as you see it. So top clip, bushing, the top plate, this rubber mount, the boot. On the bottom there's a little gasket seal there. Everything has to be replaced just as you see it here. And then on the bottom right here, there are also 15 millimeter bolts that come out right there. Alright guys, so we're all set. We're all done with the spring compressors. There is the old strut right there. Basically, just real quick, very simple. The only tricky thing is there is this little replaceable metal bushing. You don't even have to replace it if you don't want to. But once you take this off, this plate, this rubber bushing, this top mount right here, in there's a little bump stop. And this just sits on top of the bump stop. So just replace it and you'll be good to go. Make sure to line up this correctly. And then the other thing, pay attention. See how there's a slight pitch right here? It's not straight. So that is the back part and this is the front part, because the strut, as you can see, it tilts a little bit towards the engine itself. So from here, basically it's just reverse assembly. I'm also going to add a 2-inch leveling block here at the bottom before we put this guy in, and that's all. The other thing is, guys, avoid the Chinese brand springs. They're very low quality and they will give you a horrible ride. The other thing is, these are the part numbers you can see. That's the upgraded part number for the police package, Suburbans and Tahoes. So this is a Suburban, and apparently these are supposed to be a little bit rougher, which is what I'm looking for. This part number right here, that's the original part number for the Suburban LT. And this one is the facelifted model. Alright, that's all. Good luck. Real quick, guys, to get the strut back in, especially if you're putting a leveling block underneath there, brick on the bottom, brick on the top with a car jack. That is what we're putting in. I had to buy these bolts separate because the ones that they sent right there are not long enough. So you got to buy these long ones and then tighten up those screws. And then over here, as you can see, I also added a nut on top, and then in the bottom looks like that, and that's it. You guys, one last thing I forgot to mention. Up there, those 2 holes in the back, they're actually further apart from each other than these 2 and on the right side. So what you're going to want to do when you're tightening up that top mount strut, you want to make sure that it is perfectly level with those 2 bolts. And you'll see what I mean when you take this apart. Basically, those 2 bolts over there have to be identical, like level up and down with these 2 bolts here. Otherwise, you'll never get these in, because these holes are not equally divided. The back 2 holes are a little bit wider, and the easy way to tell is actually towards the back, way in the back, there's going to be a little notch in the actual top mount of the strut, which will actually tell you where's front and back. So that goes towards the motor side, towards the back. Okay. On here with this leveling spacer, I added just 2 nuts on top just in case, since I had to buy the extended bolts. And then the other thing, guys, I noticed if you have like a rattling sound, this right here, I temporarily put just a 1/2 inch drive in between, but this was just wobbling all over the place and causing a lot of noise. So I'm gonna have to replace this entire rod here, and those rubber bushings right there, they wear out at the bottom, which causes rattling and vibration. The other thing, guys, take a jack and just slightly jack up your rotor. What you'll do is that preloads the suspension a little bit, and then you're going to go back up there and torque down all 3 of those bolts. That's it.